Hello and welcome to a tutorial video for noise gating approaches in Pro Tools, specifically how to noise gate tom-toms. I've got this smooth jazz track up here, and it's pretty cool. It's got a nice, well-played, well-recorded drum kit, and it's got 3 tom mics, 3 tom tracks, and they sound great when they're played, but when they're not played, I really don't want them on. And toms are a funny thing like that. They're not played that often. I'm going to solo these 3 tom tracks and zoom in, and when you listen to them, you can hear the kind of resonance and ringing of the toms. And this is a natural thing that happens. The toms, while the drummer's playing the kit, the tom drum set sort of shakes a little bit, and that resonance is in there. And that can kind of muddy up and put like a hummy sound into your track. You don't want that. The other thing that happens is that the tom mics pick up the snare drum, which isn't that far away, and so you get a out-of-phase snare sound mixed up with your direct sound, and that kind of makes it have less attack and less punch. And of course, your cymbals can get kind of washed out. So you want to turn off your toms. And noise gates is the traditional way of doing this, and that's what this video is going to demonstrate. Noise gates are cool for other things too. A lot of people use them on kicks and snares to tighten those up, but it's not as mandatory as it is for toms. Almost everybody gates toms in one form or another. It's just there's no point having tom mics open when they're not needed. So let me demonstrate noise gates. I'm going to really focus on one little part of the song here. I can look at this entire performance. I can see the dark areas here where the toms are played. I'm going to zoom in, select this one area here, and I want to loop it. Press play so I can hear the non-tom part as well as the tom part. And I want to turn on looping if I haven't had it already on. You can see my transport up here shows that loop mode is on. That is Command-Shift-L. That turns your loop feature on. I'm going to mute these other tracks, unsoloed toms 2 and 3. I'm only working on 1 tom at a time. I have to do this. That's the thing about noise gates. You got to do it for each drum differently. And we're going to listen to this section here. Here's the first tom part of the song, and I'm going to go to the mix window here and insert the default Pro Tools freebie noise gate. It's not a bad one actually. It's called Dyne3 Expander Gate, hiding under the Dynamics folder. And let's take a listen to what that sounds like in its default settings. And I hear 2 things. One, I hear the snare drum being kind of let through there, and I also hear the fact that it's cutting off the toms. It doesn't sound very good. So the first thing most people do when they mess with gates is they mess with the threshold. If I go up with the threshold, it will take more level to open up the gate, and the snare will no longer open it. And the toms will open it, but not very well. And if I go down with the threshold, quieter things will open up the gate, and now the gate's just open all the time. So I want to kind of set this so the toms open it up. But they're really chopped off, right? That's no good. The trick to getting rid of that chopped off sound is to mess with the release and the hold controls. The hold control sets how long the gate will be open once the threshold is crossed, so we'll kick that up a little bit. And the release is really the big boy. How long will it take for it to fade out its openness? How long will it take to gradually let go and go back to gating once you go under the threshold? So I'll make it quite a bit longer, and now listen to it. So that's definitely helping. And the range is also an important, good tool to mess with here. Right now it's gating by minus 40 dB. It's turning down the quiet parts by 40 dB. That's a lot. Let's bring that up considerably to maybe 10 or 12, somewhere in that area. And now it's only barely gating. And this will let the snare through, but it will let the snare through barely. So it's really not a big deal. And now that you've kind of set the hold, the release, and the range, oftentimes you want to make the attack a little shorter so you get let through the very spike of the transient on the beginning of the drum, and then maybe mess with the threshold control, which of course is this triangle or this orange knob over here, and I could raise it a little bit. And that's noise gating. And it's pretty cool, and you would have to do that now with a different noise gate for each of your tom tracks. Now, another approach number 2 of 3, is to forego the cheap free noise gate plugin and go for something a little bit more delicious. There's a lot of choices out there, but I'm a big fan of a relatively new plugin called the Oxford Drum Gate. It's great. It really works well right out of the box. Do plugins come in boxes? I don't know. Right out of the code box. Now, this is the plugin, and right away switch it to tom mode and check it out. It sounds good already. Here it comes. It's pretty smart as it is already. You can teach it to learn the transients, hit that learn unmatch button and sit back and wait a moment. It will analyze your track and then perform better once it knows what's going on. And now it's more restrictive in its noise gating. Once you get that set, of course, mess with the decay. You had messed with the decay on the other plugin, but this one's better in that it shows a spectrograph and shows you where the tom track is building up. And you can see that the fundamental of this tom is just below 200 hertz. So I'm going to increase my decay time centered around that. That's pretty cool, right? And of course, I'm going to loosen my overall gain reduction. It too defaults to minus 40. Let's go maybe minus 20 on this guy. So I don't know what you think, but my ears tell me that this plugin worked a lot better, and it was certainly a lot faster for me to get it set than it was with the freebie. Of course, it costs you some money, but it is a good plugin for it. Now, the third approach I want to show you forgoes a noise gate altogether. And in the studio, you have the time to manually edit your tom tracks and just get rid of the sections of the songs that don't have the toms playing. And this does take a little bit longer. You need to know how to edit to do it, but you should be practicing your editing skills and learning your Pro Tools key commands anyway. So this is something you should do, and it's certainly superior to noise gating, and you don't have to spend any time wondering if a drum is going to get lost or not. So what I do is I solo all three tom tracks, and I listen down, and I erase things that don't have any toms playing. And this first clip here, you can see very much has no toms playing. And this one here, I can see the top two toms there, don't need it. But this is the one we were working on a moment ago. I'm going to hold Option down. Now I'm going to use my keyboard commands, and I'm going to trim. Really what I'm going to do is press these buttons here. You're going to use the trimmer, the select, that grabber, and I'm going to quickly edit, and I'm using my R and T here to zoom in and out, and I'm going to quickly edit the areas around the drum performance. Here I just used the select tool, and I'm going to hit delete. Now I'm going to the trim tool and dragging out, putting a little fade. How do I make a fade? I go to the multi-tool that's holding options, clicking F7 and F8 there. I've been using F keys for so long I can't even remember what they do. And if you go to your multi-tool, F7 and F8 together, you can, up the upper right-hand corner of this clip here, it turns into a fade tool, and I can fade out that tom hit, which is pretty cool. I just hit F6 there, made the trim tool. Now check this out. Very nice, right? So I would move through here pretty quickly. I've been doing this a long time, so I can get pretty fast at this, but I would, it only takes me about 5 minutes to edit a typical song. I can see this is the next spot with a tom hit right there, so I'm going to do this. This, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need. This is going to need a little little fade out like I just demonstrated a moment ago. These guys we don't need. This is going to be a single tom hit. Very nice. And move through and do the rest of the song. I think there's a buildup right there that I got to get out. But anyway, you would quickly kind of go through here and clean out your tom tracks. And yeah, that may be very, if you're a newbie, that may take you a while to do, and a noise gate might be more tempting. But this approach will sound better and make you a better editor. So spend your time, learn your F keys here, learn how to move through here and do the multi-tool and the fade and all that. And trust me, it will make you money someday when you're fast and you're paid by you're paid by the project, and the faster you go, the more you can do. Does it make sense? Yeah, I think it does. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helps out. Bye-bye.